Well, the Commission for Gender Equality Chairperson, Advocate Nthabiseng Sepanya-Mogale, joins us now for more on that conversation. Advocate, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. You, of course, held this engagement based on the complaints, a number of them coming from the Limpopo province, using that province as a sample for what you believe would have been a reflection of what is happening, maybe broadly, anecdotally, throughout the country. But thought this would be an opportune time, at least, to look into this province and find out exactly what is it that is going on there to later roll it out. There are three areas of concern: feedback, withdrawal of cases, as well as the undesirable treatment. Explain to us, I mean, what did the SAPS give you as an explanation around these complaints that are raised?
Okay, thanks for having us, Thabo. The meeting went quite well. It was quite cordial and very professional, and I think all sides involved understand that at the end of the day, the responsibilities that are apportioned, it was SAPS and NPA, are apportioned to them as duty bearers, are being compromised by systemic and structural challenges. There are still areas, for example, that have got up to 50 kilometers, a 50-kilometer radius that are being serviced by a particular police station, despite the fact that the province has got about 90 police stations, but some of them are actually quite sparsely located. But again, with the limited resources that are there in terms of taking care of people who come forward to report and taking them for health services and other interventions as part of the investigation and evidence gathering, with the limitation of motor vehicles and all of that, it's a compromise. It's seriously compromised. But the third thing that was pointed out was because of the location, the physical, geographical location of Mpumalanga, a lot of the cases actually fall by the wayside. Mpumalanga has got Mozambique and Swaziland as their borders on the one side. And it has been found that a lot of people actually go out of South Africa into those neighboring countries to go and hide, and other people assist to hide them, or they generally are residents and citizens of those countries. They come here to work, and when something like this happens, they actually leave the country to go back there. So it's really frustrating for them. They at the borderline, and the cross-border location of Mpumalanga is compromising their ability to police. But internally, even those who are not going out of the province or even out of the country, there is a lot of movement as a result of people looking for better opportunities in your Gauteng provinces and other provinces, or people who are in back rooms and or informal settlements in the areas. It's very easy for them to up and go and leave the matter as is. So people end up, victims and survivors end up going to court until they end up giving up because the other person cannot be found. The case can never be court ready in so many ways. Yes. But one of the most critical of things that we have found is that families are actually actively undermining criminal justice systems, in the sense that they put pressure on the victims to go and counsel. They put pressure on the parents of the victims to go and counsel. Sometimes you find if it's the father or the uncle who is a breadwinner, or is the brother to the mother, and the mother is told, if you do this, so you're messing up the whole family, or your child is messing up the whole family. So there's a lot of undue pressure that families are putting on the family members, especially those that are vulnerable, your children, people who are still going to school and relying on this perpetrator for support, or relying on the mother who then has got a relationship with this perpetrator for support. Yeah.
That I understand, in terms of us understanding the rates maybe of withdrawals, understanding the rates of prosecutions and sexual offences, where they are sitting and why they are not higher. How does it explain, though, the question of the kind of feedback that they give to the victims, one? Two, the victimization of the victims, it seems, from that insert that we played there, where the victim felt unprotected to the point where she actually says she received a call from the perpetrator from inside, and things that emerge, kind of how that evidence-keeping process could have been compromised easily, and the docket could have disappeared, quite honestly. And of course, there are threats there that are also involved.
Okay. Of late, it's not very easy for dockets to disappear, because now SAPS has got a system where immediately the dockets are loaded onto the system. So anybody who ends up with a physical docket out there, whether they burn it or they flush it somewhere or throw it in the dustbin, is neither here nor there anymore, in the sense that the copies of the docket would already be captured. What is problematic for a lot of victims is that they do not get the feedback that they would appreciate to get from the investigating officer in terms of how far the case is. As the investigating officer is running around trying to gather information, witnesses disappearing, witnesses reluctant to come forward. Sometimes it's not, the police are not very active in going back at every turn to say to the victim, this is how far we are, this is what we're doing, this is what we're trying to do. And mainly because of the high workload, high caseload that they have to deal with. It's not uncommon for one police officer in one police station in a small town to have up to 150, 200 dockets of some of the very serious crimes in that area. So it really is frustration on all sides.
Yes.
That is why in my presentation earlier with your station, I said National Treasury needs to come to the party to look at how they can realign resources so that they prioritize certain things. It has become a bottomless pit in terms of the efforts that the police are doing, and the little bit of conviction sometimes that they secure actually has to be appreciated much more than we do now.
Yeah. So if you were to look at, one of the other areas that you would have sharply raised yourself, the compromise of specimens, therefore bringing a compromise to the whole entire investigation itself, being one of the areas. So evidence tampering, if you like, and of course the capacity to investigate. What were some of the lasting interventions that would have been suggested in your deliberations today?
Okay, one of the things that I pointed out earlier was the fact that we need more laboratories, forensic laboratories in the country that are run by SAPS. We've got only 4 currently for the entire country. That in itself it says there is something wrong in terms of how we allocate resources. You cannot have, a country of 60 million people with such high levels of very, very serious crimes, and you have only 4 laboratories. Provinces like the Free State actually have to bring their specimens to Pretoria. But what then happens is they cannot be coming every day to bring specimens. So there are places in different police stations and in different Tutuzela care centers where they keep these specimens in, for example, if it's a rape specimen, in rape kits, if they have them. And they keep them there until somebody comes to collect them to bring them to Pretoria. But as you know, specimens are alive. So which means as they are kept there, depending on the temperature of the room, depending on all sorts of other extraneous variables, that specimen could actually be compromised in terms of its quality and in terms of its usability. So we need to have those laboratories in every province as a start, because we actually need to have more than one in every province.
And when you then look at what you would have been able to achieve through the engagement today, how do you see this? What is the desirable outcome in terms of rolling it out to other provinces and the rest of the country, so we could have a broader sample of what are the challenges?
As you know, Thabo, the CGE has been doing a lot of oversight and accountability public hearings in the provinces. Last week we were in the Eastern Cape, as you are aware. We will be going to KwaZulu-Natal soon. So we will be rolling out definitely in other areas. But I also just want to highlight that we've got provinces like the Free State, where we went about 2-3 years ago, and as a result of our intervention, we had positive situation. We went to the Sasolburg government garage where there were more than 200 cars that were parked there, not functioning in any way. They were brought to the government garage to be fixed or serviced or whatever, and things were not happening. And based on our intervention, a lot of those cars were repaired and redispatched to police stations. And 200 cars in one province is a significant intervention. We also are now looking at reviving with the Department of Health the issue of forensic nurses. Forensic nursing as a specialty had actually not been accredited. Now we have started, the Nursing Council has actually won a victory of it being recognized once again and accredited. So we are trying to speak to the Department of Health to say, recruit more people who will become forensic nurses so that you do not rely on the limited number of doctors to take specimens, to preserve the specimens and make sure that the specimens actually reach the laboratories that they're supposed to reach. So there are a lot of interventions that we are doing. One of the things today that we did was to actually give additional questions, which both SAPS and NPA are actually going to come back to us with detailed reports to answer. And as you know, as a Chapter 9, we have the hearing of the different portfolio committees. We plan to approach those so that we also intervene to add on, to put more pressure on government that they actually need to start looking at the challenges for what they are, rather than just glossing over or some of the hidden challenges that nobody gives attention to.
Chairperson, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Commission for Gender Equality Chairperson there. That's Advocate Nthabiseng Sepanya-Mogale. Right, we'll continue in a moment here on In Focus. We'll hear from the NCOP House Chair on their strategic planning meeting that is taking place in Sandton over the next couple of days, and what will be the policy priorities that they'll be looking at. Stay with us.